Have you ever like walked into a room and then people are talking and you're like, oh my God, I'm so zapped? Or you're talking to your mom and you feel like, oh my God, I'm so drained. And you're just sitting there in the space of like, why am I so exhausted? A good chance you've been around energy vampires. The key is you're hoping that you're not one of them. But to be honest, we all have been, and some of you may still be. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to the Positivity Experience. This is all about energy vampires. Check it out. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl Lori, and I am so happy that you are here. I just recorded this entire podcast when it was not recording. So I guess I did a little prelim and I'm like, daggone it, but here we are. So I am here with you and I'm so excited to be here with you. But before we get started, over on the Patreon today, we are talking about self-acceptance and forgiveness, right? For yourself. We always talk about for other people. It's about yourself. And there's going to have a worksheet with it like we always do. And if that's something that you're interested in doing, you can join us over at www.patreon.com/the positivity experience, or you can go anywhere that you're getting this podcast right now. Go into the show description and there's a link that takes you right out there. But that's what we're going to talk about over there today. And if you're new over there, I welcome. And if you're in the abundance tier, which is that higher tier, you're going to get one extra bonus episode a month. And I think you're going to get that one next week. So I decided to do that more so than the giveaways, just because a lot of people aren't available for the giveaways. And I still want to be able to give somebody on that in that tier a little extra. But we are going to talk about today energy vampires. We're going to talk about it so you can see it from other people, but also self-awareness. I got to tell you about the self-awareness thing. And that's kind of a big part of your growth. Until you're self-aware, it's going to be really difficult for you to really get through some healing, because you got to be aware of your emotions, your actions, like you, right? This is like self-accountability and self-awareness. So this is what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to give it to you on both sides, and I'm going to talk to you about 5 of them. But I promise you, there's like so many more, and you don't realize how many energy vampires are out there in the world. And I definitely was one. Until I was able to really get through my healing and some other, accountabilities for myself. And, so we've all kind of been there. And I think as you're listening to this and you, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's me. Oh my God. This isn't to judge yourself. Don't judge yourself on this. This is more of awareness. Remember, with awareness, it's going to be some harsh truths for you. You got to be self-aware in your actions, but you have to be willing to accept that they're your actions. So anyway, let's just jump into it. And we're going to talk about number 1, and that is chronic complainers. People who complain about everything under the sun. I don't have enough gas in my car today. There's too much traffic on the road. Oh my God, the weather, it's so hot outside. Oh my God, is this weather ever going to change? It's freezing cold. Oh my God. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Oh, my coffee pot broke today. You're like, oh my God, like you're around these type of people and it is draining. And I mean, hardcore draining. And something to be aware of as I go through every one of these, your job in life is to protect your peace. You do not have to make yourself available for people who are in victim mode or who are energy drainers. You do not have to make yourself available. That is a fact, and that is something that you're going to have to get clear on, because one of these is going to be, it's going to challenge that exact statement. And I'm going to tell you which one it is as we get there. I'll tell you, it's guilt, right? So when we get there, you'll understand it, because guilt, tripping, and manipulation, big energy drainers. But let's talk about this complaining. We all go through things. We all have frustrations. We all get a little annoyed that, the traffic had me late today, or I really wanted a latte and something broke, or I couldn't find. Yeah, we all have those normal parts of the day, and you're allowed to be like, oh, well, that kind of sucked. But it's the complainers that you feel like, oh my God, do you ever have a happy moment in your life? Are you ever not even happy? Are you ever just okay? Right? And I mean, they will complain about everything. And you'll find this, even they complain about things that you've done that are good. Like, it's like, yeah, that was nice. I mean, the weather was a little hot. the weather was hot. And I mean, we couldn't find that parking space, but yeah, it was fun. We could have left those other things out and just said, yeah, it was fun. But remember, people aren't always in that self-awareness. So this is the other caveat to all of this entire topic is you don't get to judge someone who is an energy drainer. You protect your peace from it. Don't judge them because they're on a different part of their journey. Because I can tell you, as I was writing in my book, I was writing in the victim mentality chapter where I really was the poster child of that in my teens and early 20s. They're not in a space of self-awareness. So I'm not asking you to have pity on them. I'm just saying don't judge them either. Don't be like, oh my God, they're full of this complaining. And yes, they are. And your job isn't to judge them. Your job is to protect your peace. Okay. So, but yes, this is a chronic suck. Just think about you're sitting there and somebody's just constantly bitching and complaining. You're like, oh my God, I can't be around you. Everything is negative. Everything is the end of the world. Everything is like, on top. Yeah. Yes. People have a right to distance from you. And you have a right to distance from it. Now, sometimes the reality is you're not going to be able to just constantly get away from complainers. Let's say you work with people. You got to be able to bubble yourself and protect yourself. That is an episode that's coming out later on the Patreon down the road, is how to bubble yourself and protect yourself. And, it's important because you can't always avoid people. However, you also have to know when you don't need to be around these people, including your family. Please stop giving family some giant free pass on it's because they're family. No, it doesn't matter. You do not have to be around chronic complainers if you choose not to. In most situations, yes, you're going to have these people. Yes, if you're at work, yes, you're going to have them. But it's not your job to sit there and allow this to be sucked on you. And a lot of that is because you're like, oh my God, I really don't want to hear it. But this goes into the awareness of being able to bubble yourself and accept that that's their journey, not yours. So you want to not give life or breathe life into it. But this is a big one. Because you got to check yourself. Are you complaining about everything? Are you complaining about little things? Are you complaining that you can never find your keys? Are you complaining that you have a 2-hour drive to work? Are you complaining that, just stop, right? Because it isn't helping you and it's giving off such a negative vibe. Now, this is talking about yourself. It's giving off such a negative vibe that you can't be negative and then say, oh my God, why is the universe not giving me peace and love? Seriously? Really, we're going to ask that question. The universe is going to give you what you focus on. That's just how that works. But that's number one, is complaining. Number two is the one I said is going to challenge you protecting your peace. And that is guilt tripping and manipulation. I'm going to take those two and marry them. So there's two different things there but manipulation is a big tool in just about so many things, being a martyr, victim mentality. There's a lot of manipulation that comes because you're trying to feel better and you want to be heard and you want to be seen and you're willing to do so at any given chance. Anyway, so guilt tripping, and this one's going to be, we're going to stay here for a minute. And the reason we're going to stay here for a minute is because you can't be guilt tripped unless you allow yourself to be guilt tripped. But I really wanted you to come over. And don't you understand that it might be your grandmother's last Christmas? And if you give into that, you're allowing it. You can't get upset with the person, right? We know that the guilt tripping piece of that's manipulation. I'm going to manipulate you by using your grandmother who's going to pass away in the next week to come to Thanksgiving. You don't have to do that. That is somebody guilt tripping you, and that's a manipulation. Guilt tripping is manipulation, right? Now, this is an important one because we're going to talk about relationships. Why would you want anyone to be around you or in a relationship of any sort if they did not want to be there? You really need to ask yourself that question, right? Now, this is about you. I'm not saying we know other people are going to guilt trip in relationships, but it isn't your responsibility to figure out why they're guilt tripping in the relationship. This is you protecting your peace. Okay. This is you protecting your peace and allowing yourself not to be guilt tripped and put into a position that you feel that you have to stay with somebody. But let's ask yourself, why in the world would you want someone who really doesn't want to be there to be with you just for the sake of having a person? They don't want to be there. They don't want to be with you, but you're going to convince them and guilt them to staying with you because you need them. You want them. That is all a you issue. That's never okay to guilt trip someone in being in a relationship. And I don't just mean a love relationship. I'm talking about full-on friendships. Stop guilt tripping people. Stop being manipulative and being sneaky and going, well, I don't feel good today. And then you're doing that so the person can show you attention. That's manipulation. Okay. So that's not as much guilt tripping as it is manipulation, but they do live in the same umbrella. Okay. So you need to ask yourself that. This is you checking yourself on it, because who cares? Who cares if somebody leaves you? I mean, seriously, who cares? If they leave you, yeah, you're allowed to hurt. If they leave you, then they're freeing you up for somebody who may want to be with you. Don't hold on to somebody for the sake of having a person. And this is where the guilt trip comes in. And we're going to get really deep here. If someone has ever said to you, well, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. If you leave me, I'm going to start drinking again. That is the biggest manipulation and guilt trip on the planet. You are not responsible for that person. No, you are not. No, you are not. And if you protect your peace and something like that happens, that is not your fault. That is a really big space of manipulation and guilt tripping. You are not to be held emotionally hostage to try to keep someone else alive because you want to leave a relationship. Hard pass. We are not doing that. And that's your self-awareness. That goes into your self-acceptance, which we're talking about over on the Patreon today. But it's so important that you understand that and that you see it, but you don't judge it. Again, none of this is for anybody to be judged, but it's when you're seeing yourself being guilt tripped, you might not be in a space yet to sort of say, hey, I'm just not doing it. Right? You might not be in a space because in your mind, you're still emotionally charged, right? You don't want to respond out of emotion. That's a reaction. Anytime you respond out of emotion, that's a reaction. You reacted to something. We've all done it. We all still do it. Like, let's not act extra. We all react out of emotion from time to time. That's normal. It's a human trait, but it's when that is happening on a regular basis. And so you can't logically have a conversation when you're in an emotional state, because then you will get manipulative. You will get gaslighty. You will get all those things because you're operating from a place of emotion. So you might not be in a space to say, hey, listen, that's not my responsibility. I'm not here for that, You might not be there yet because you might not be on that part of your journey. So sometimes you're going to have to just pull yourself away, but you are not responsible for somebody else's joy and happiness. You're not. So, but know how draining that is, right? If you're around somebody who is constantly in that negative space, constantly in that guilt tripping and, oh my God, but I'm not beautiful enough. And believe it or not, that's a little guilt trippy too. Like, well, do you love me? What? Yes, I love you. Oh, okay. And then they're asking you a million times. Now that is their insecurity, right? We know, been there, done that. That's an insecurity. But again, you have to be careful of allowing someone into your energy field. That is your responsibility. It's not them. They're not invading your energy space. You're allowing that. Because people are people. They're going to do what they do, when they do it, how they do it, why they do it. It's not your concern, but it is protecting your space. And yes, this includes your mom who's going to guilt trip you and to try to do something. If you don't want to do it, you do within reason, of course. I mean, if you're an adult, I'll say if you don't want to take out the trash, no, that's different. But like, you don't have to engage in this, and you don't have to beat yourself up for it either. Because if you're not willing to protect your peace, no one's going to come protect your peace for you. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to live your life for you. No one's coming to live your goals for you. No one is coming to protect you either, like your energy. So you have to remember that's a big piece of that, right? So yeah, that's your 1 and 2 right there. And think about all 5 of these are going to get married. Like you're going to see how they ingrain with each other. And then if it's you that's the energy vampire, you're going to see that as you start to develop self-awareness, self-healing, and going through your trauma healing, you're going to find that all of these sort of dissipate. Like you're not just going to be an energy vampire in one area, because energy vampires have spider webs, right? They spider web out. So they have all this power and control, and it just becomes crazy. So number 3 is blaming everyone else. That is a big energy vampire. People who blame things and people for everything. Okay. And this comes into play when it comes into arguing, disagreements, right? Well, I reacted that way because you did this. Okay, wait. Did you just say you reacted a certain way because I did it? You know, those people give you like the backhanded sort of apologies. Like, okay, well, yeah, I shouldn't have acted that way, but damn, like you triggered me. Wait, what? Hold on. What? Skirt? That wasn't really an apology. You don't get to say, I did this because you did this. That's not an apology. An apology is like, okay, I'm taking accountability for my part. It doesn't matter if you take accountability, I am. But when you're around somebody who's always blaming everything, kind of goes into the complainers too, but blaming everything, it is draining. Oh man, my childhood this, my childhood that, my childhood this, my ex-husband, this, that, oh, this, that, oh, my anger. When they're blaming things, it's draining. Now, it's different if you're like I'm writing my book, right? So it talks a lot about my backstory. The difference is it's historical. That's my history. I'm not a victim to that, right? So, and blaming is being a victim mentality. That is a victim mentality. You're blaming everything, right? I'm this way because of this. This person did this because of this. And okay. So you have to understand that if you're reading like somebody's autobiography and you're learning from their experiences, that's great because they're telling you, hey, listen, man, you're not in this by yourself. That's beautiful. But it's when what I'm talking about is blaming is like, well, you know, I'm this way because I'm depressed. Yes, you can also blame your disorders. Yes, you can. Well, it's hard. I can't do that because I'm neurodivergent. I'm ADHD. And you guys know I'm ADHD. I have not had my BPD in 15, 20 years. It doesn't go away. It just goes into remission. Like there's no cure for it. I had BPD, which is borderline. I have OCD. I have PTSD. I have ADHD. I've had chronic anxiety. I've had massive amounts of depression. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, does it make it more challenging? Of course. My ADHD makes things more challenging. My OCD and ADHD, they fight each other because my OCD says, oh, this is what I want. My ADHD goes, okay, psych, what's that over there? Right. And so it's more challenging, but I'm not going to sit there and blame it and be like, well, I did this because of this. I did this because of my ADHD. I did this because I was molested. I did this because of this. And I did this because I'm depressed. And yeah, it makes it harder. Yes. But you have to be careful of constantly blaming things, situations, and people, and all of those things. The blaming is exhausting. Now, you can't engage, don't engage in people who are constantly in a blame thing. I'm this way because of my narcissist ex-husband. Understood, right? Because your narcissist ex-husband can do a big number on you, for sure. Absolutely validated. But what are we going to do to fix and correct that now? Like, I get it. This is how you ended up here. That's a fact. Beautiful. We know it. It's a place to grow from. It's a place to get stronger from. Yes. It's not a place to carry on for the next 25 years as to why you can't have a good relationship. So that is toxic and draining. And again, you have to realize when you're in this space, people do not want to be around the chronic complaining, chronic guilt tripping and manipulation, and for sure hearing people blame things. Well, I did this because this person didn't train me right. No, they trained you. You didn't absorb the information. Then you didn't go back and ask them to help you. And now you're still blaming them for not training you, but it's really you. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, so you have to also check yourself because we definitely do that. We blame things. We blame our actions because somebody's reaction. And we have to have the self-awareness and wherewithal within ourselves to understand that we are the ones who are subjecting ourselves. Yes, those triggers were created by real reasons. We're not to nullify that and invalidate it, but it's up to you to address those triggers, not other people to protect you from those triggers. They can't do that. Sometimes you're going to be triggered. So what are you going to do for that? So that's number 3. And again, you can see how they all sort of like come into it, right? Okay. Number 4, drama. People who are constantly creating and involved in everything is dramatic. Everything is big. Everything is like the end of the world. Everything is all or nothing. I'll never have friends. I'll never do that. This always happens to me. People always hurt me. People always do this. Everything is dramatic to the point where this is where you can see the one-uppers. Okay. So it's one-upping. You call your sister and you go, man, you know what? Like I was cutting vegetables today and man, I really sliced my finger pretty bad. Wow. Yeah, I did that last week and it was really bad. Okay. Well, sorry. Like what? How did this become about you? Like we're making, you like the drama. Yep. That's what drama is energy draining. And you do not have to engage in this type of behavior with other people, but really watch yourself on it. Now it's different if someone goes, hey, I know that you cut your finger last week. How did you treat it? Because I cut my finger today. Now I asked you for your experience and I want it. I don't need you to constantly one-up me. I don't need you to constantly hear it gossiping and, oh my God, did you hear what she was saying? Da, 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 da. Oh my God. Like everybody, these are people who you find, they say, I hate drama. But you notice that they're the key ingredient in all of these other dramas. And you're like, you don't like drama, but you were involved with that. And it's like, they can also take the little stick, the little spoon, and they stir up all the garbage. And then they walk away. They're like, oh my God, did you see them overreacting? Now you got two people fighting and they're like, yeah, man, I don't understand it. You created it. So you have to understand that when you are around people who are always trying to one up people, everything's dramatic. They're constantly engaged in gossiping and talking crap and always judging what's going on the news and what's wrong with that people. Those people are stupid and like, oh my God, you're full of drama. Now you want to check yourself on it because are you being dramatic because you can't accept that other people have a life outside of you? And what I mean by that is they don't have to respond like you do. They can act different. They can say things different. They can vote different. They can worship different. They can do different things. Why are you going into drama about it? Right? So you always want to check yourself on this drama because again, it's people who will constantly try to one up you. Oh, I stubbed my toe. Yeah, I stubbed my toe really bad. I couldn't even walk for a week. Why are we talking about your toe when I called to tell you about mine? So you have to understand that is draining. So yes, you want to watch yourself on constantly blaming, complaining, things like that, and falling down that rabbit hole, So this is that drama. And so when you see it again, you can't always avoid it, but you don't have to engage in it because I can promise you this. If someone is engaging in gossip to you, and I don't mean venting with friends, you're having some wine and you're like, oh my God, did you see what happened in the Murdaugh trial? And that's different. Or, oh my God, did you see this? Yeah, I saw it. And it's like, you're not malicious. You're not trying to get anybody to hurt anybody. You're just talking about a fact. But it's when someone is gossiping about someone else to you, I promise you they're gossiping about you to somebody else. I mean, it's just a fact, right? So why are you engaging in it? And literally, I will tell people, I'm not going to contribute to this conversation. And I just walk away. I don't care what you do. That's you. I'm protecting my peace. But if you're engaging in the gossip, and I mean full on gossip, and you're talking mad crap about somebody, you're just as guilty as the person who's full of drama and blaming. So now you've become part of this scene. So now you're a part of the drama. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, why are you engaging in that when you have so many other things that you can be engaged with within yourself? And again, if they're talking about somebody to you, they are talking about you to somebody else. So don't subject yourself to something like that. Right. And I think that is kind of a full on important part of it. Now, number 5, and like I said, there's many. So if you want me to do another part 2, part 3 to this down the road, I can, because there's so many different areas in energy vampire, probably 30 or 40 if I'm being honest with you, because there's so much that everything is based on energy, right? And so, but number 5 is they don't take accountability, right? They're not going to take accountability until they're willing to have self-awareness, right? You ever think to yourself, God, they really are not self-aware with their actions. Now, just because you think they're not self-aware, they could be very confident within themselves. And you could be like, God, don't they realize that could be triggering? Yeah, but they don't care. They're confident within their actions. But this is like a really interesting one, because it goes into that blaming, right? Like, can you take accountability for being a jerk without saying I was a jerk because you did this? Can you take accountability and go, wow, I really came out of character. I'm sorry. Like I really did come out of character without going, I did come out of character, but when we had that talk and you said that about me being a bad mom, it triggered me. Okay. So you just kind of apologized, but you said that you apologized, but you acted that way because of me. No. So taking accountability is taking accountability for your part. You have to understand there may be people in your life who will never, ever take accountability. My dad never took accountability for any of the molestation with me, my sister, anything. Nope. On his deathbed, he still didn't take accountability. We didn't need him to take accountability. We knew. We know our truth. Other people, DIFUS or whatever, the CPS or whatever, they know the truth. Like everybody else knows the truth, but a person who doesn't want to take accountability, you can't do anything about that. And to get frustrated about it only hurts you. It really does only hurt you. Now, it's up to you to take accountability. You don't need to say, I did this, but. The moment you say, but, you have nullified everything that you just said. I'm really sorry that I hurt your feelings. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But everything just went out the window. You could say, hey, listen, I'm really sorry that happened. And I really take accountability for it. And is great, but not great. But throws everything else out because it's not really an apology. You're taking accountability while blaming somebody else. That's a toxic energy drainer. So if you're around people and you're like, oh my God, they're always blaming somebody. Oh my God, they're never taking accountability of their role. The reality is we are not perfect as human beings. We are going to screw up. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to hurt people. We are going to be victims. Victim mentality people. We are going to create havoc at times. We are going to create drama. We are going to be energy drainers ourselves. It is the self-awareness to prevent that from happening more than it needs to happen. So that's your self-awareness, your self-accountability. But other people may never want to take accountability because then it forces them to say, whoa, I'm responsible for my own life now. Yeah, I will say it a million times. Your trauma is never your responsibility. Healing that is 100% always your responsibility. You don't have to do it by yourself. But if you're waiting for the accountability, you're literally giving someone power and control over you. Literally, you're giving someone power and control over you because at the end of the day, you holding a grudge and you waiting for someone to take accountability, they are literally still this big energy force in your life. They may never take it. I mean, you may say, well, listen, I need to have it if I'm going to have a relationship. Valid. You don't have to have a relationship with that person. But I want one. Well, then you're going to have to decide what it is you want to do. Do you want one? Why do you want it? Is it codependency? Why do you feel like you need it? Is it because it's your sister and you feel like you have to because it's family and all of these things? Family does not get a free pass. You're not family, you're related. Being related and being family are two different things. Related is, hey, we share the same blood. Family is like, damn, you support me and you can call me on my stuff and I'm not going to get mad at you. And I don't need you to check on me every 35 seconds. And, family that's family. You don't have to be related to be family. And you don't have to be family to, sit there and carry on and be there for somebody's victim mentality. The reality is you do not have to make yourself available when your bandwidth is not there. How many times have you thought, God, it's just enough for me to get through this damn day? I got to deal with these people. Well, sometimes you're going to have to. I don't know what to tell you. Don't go into a victim mentality because you're having a bad day. You had a long ride. You were in traffic for 2 hours. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What are you going to do about it? Listen to a podcast in it. Listen to an Audible book. Enjoy the drive. You can't change things. You don't have a plane. We're not in the Jetsons. So it's the acceptability. So that's you taking your accountability, but can you take accountability without blaming another person? Okay. Yeah. Wow. I'm really sorry I did that. I really shouldn't have responded that way. Period. Not, wow, or I'm really sorry about that. I shouldn't have responded that way, but damn, you said that and it triggered me. Nope. You just took away that entire apology. Okay. So what do you do with these people? Well, like I said, I'm going to do a whole video on Patreon a podcast down the road on Patreon on bubbling yourself, but you got to understand not to judge people. When you're in all of these places, and I've been in every single one that we just talked about, right? When you're there, you're not in a healed state. So you lash out, you blame, you guilt trip because you want to be heard, you want to be seen, you're still waiting for somebody to come and save you. And the reality is they're not. And until you get clear in that, it's going to become problematic because you're always going to be in that. But you don't judge another person's journey. Protect your peace though. It is okay to walk away. It is okay to hang up the phone. If in fact you keep saying, I got to go, and the person keeps talking, hang up the phone. You say, I'm going now, bye. And you hang up the phone. You can't always abandon a situation that is toxic for you. So you have to remember that's their stuff, not yours. It's not your job to save somebody. It's not your job to engage in their victimization. It is not your role. And unfortunately, and now there's things that you can in energy drainers, not so much vampires, or things like social media and things like that. And you guys know, I do not engage in social media. I mean, I do engage in social media. I have posts and things like that, but I'm not going to sit there and keep doing scrolling and stuff like that and then going, I don't have time in the day. Well, I'm a liar. I'm choosing not to have time in the day. Okay. So you have to understand that piece of it. And you always want to protect your peace. And while you can't control other people, you can control how you are in your energy vampirism. What are you doing? Which one of these? I'd love for you to know. I'd love to know. And I know this part of it also, I have a video that goes on YouTube, but also just the regular podcast. And I'd love to know on YouTube, go down in the comments. Let me know which part of the energy vampire you are. We don't need to know who's in your life is an energy vampire, but what about you? This is all about self-awareness and self-accountability. And can you take accountability, right, without blaming anybody else? Check it out.